"If you carry me up the stairs, I'll tell you a secret," said the sick little girl. The mechanic had no idea those words would change his life forever. It was one of those gray, tired afternoons when the world felt heavier than usual. Rain had been threatening all day but never quite arrived, and everything smelled of oil, rust, and exhaust. In a small, weathered auto shop at the corner of Maple Street, Daniel wiped his hands on a rag and sighed. His life had been an endless loop of fixing broken engines, paying overdue bills, and pretending not to notice how empty his house felt since his wife left. He wasn't bitter, just numb. Every day started and ended the same way, until that day, when a tiny voice called from outside the shop door. "Excuse me, mister," the voice said, weak but clear. Daniel turned around to see a little girl, maybe 7 or 8, sitting in a wheelchair. Her skin was pale, her hair tied up in 2 uneven ponytails, and she clutched a small teddy bear with one missing eye. She smiled shyly. "Can you help me?" she asked. He wiped his hands again, walking closer. "Hey there, kiddo! You lost?" She shook her head. "No, I live upstairs. But the elevator's broken again. I can't get up." He looked at the old building beside his shop, the one with the peeling paint and the broken sign that used to read Maple Apartments. He'd fixed the landlord's old pickup once, so he knew how unreliable that elevator was. "You live there alone?" "My mom's at work," she said. "She's a nurse. She works nights." Daniel hesitated. He was covered in grease, sweat, and the kind of exhaustion that sticks to your bones. But something about the way she smiled, bravely, despite the weakness in her voice, made him drop his tools. "All right, sweetheart," he said softly. "Let's get you upstairs." She nodded, clutching her bear tighter. "If you carry me up the stairs, I'll tell you a secret." That line made him chuckle. "A secret, huh? That sounds like a good deal." As he bent down and carefully lifted her from the wheelchair, she was lighter than he expected, fragile, like a paper bird. She wrapped her tiny arms around his neck, and he started up the stairs slowly, afraid to jostle her too much. It wasn't easy. There were 4 long flights, each one creaking under his boots, but with each step, she told him small stories. About her teddy bear named Benny, about how she liked to listen to her mom sing while she made soup, about how she used to run before her legs stopped listening. When they reached her door, Daniel was breathless. "Here we are, princess," he said, setting her gently on the couch. She smiled again, her eyes bright. "You didn't forget. You helped me. So I'll tell you the secret." He leaned closer, pretending to whisper back. "All right, what's the secret?" She looked him straight in the eyes. "You look sad, mister, but you're not really alone. You just forgot how to see people who care," he blinked. It wasn't the kind of secret he expected from a child. She said it like she knew something he didn't, like she'd looked inside him and found all the quiet, broken pieces he tried to hide. Before he could answer, a key turned in the lock. A woman stepped in, wearing scrubs and looking utterly exhausted. Her eyes widened when she saw Daniel there. "Lily! What are you doing out of... Oh my God, who..." The girl interrupted. "Mom, this is Daniel! He helped me up the stairs." The woman exhaled in relief. "Thank you. That elevator's been broken for weeks, and the landlord doesn't care." Daniel nodded, awkwardly rubbing the back of his neck. "No problem. I work next door. Just wanted to help," she smiled faintly. "You're the mechanic? My coworkers always talk about how kind you are." That night, as he went back to his shop and locked up, he couldn't shake her words. "You're not really alone." It was like a seed planted deep inside him. He didn't know it then, but this wasn't the last time he'd see her, or her daughter. A week later, Daniel found himself climbing those same stairs again, a small grocery bag in his hand. He told himself he was just dropping off some snacks for the kid, nothing more. But when Lily opened the door, she beamed like he'd brought the sun with him. "You came back." Her mother, whose name he learned was Grace, invited him in, and for the first time in years, Daniel felt the warmth of a real home. It wasn't perfect. The wallpaper was peeling, and the furniture was mismatched. But there was laughter, music, and something he hadn't felt in a long time: belonging. Over the next few weeks, Daniel started visiting often. Sometimes he'd fix their sink or bring over soup when Grace worked late. Other times, he'd sit with Lily and listen to her stories. She told him she had a condition that made her legs weak, and the doctors weren't sure if she'd ever walk again. One evening, she asked softly, "Do you believe people can fix hearts like you fix cars?" Daniel smiled sadly. "Maybe, but it's harder. Sometimes you don't have the right parts." She looked up at him. Maybe you just need the right person to remind you what's still working. Her words stayed with him. Every time he went home, the silence didn't feel as heavy anymore. He started fixing up his own place, patching the leaks, painting the walls. It was as if helping them had somehow mended something inside him too. But life, as it often does, had other plans. One night, Grace called him in tears. "It's Lily. She's in the hospital. Please, can you come?" He drove like a madman through the rain, heart pounding. When he arrived, Grace was pacing in the hallway, her hands trembling. Her lungs. They said there's an infection. She's so weak. Daniel didn't hesitate. He went inside the room. The little girl lay on the bed, pale but still smiling when she saw him. "Hey, mister," she whispered. "You came." "Of course I did," he said, holding her hand. "You promised me another secret, remember?" She blinked slowly. "Oh yeah, I almost forgot." Grace turned away, crying silently as the machines beeped softly. Lily's voice was faint, but clear. "My secret is, I prayed for you every night. I asked God to fix your heart, and I think he did." Daniel felt his throat tighten. He wanted to say something, but all that came out was a shaky laugh. "Yeah, kid, I think he did." She closed her eyes with a tiny smile. "Good, then I can rest." For a moment, the world stood still. The sound of rain against the window was the only thing breaking the silence. Months passed. The shop still smelled of oil and rain, but something had changed in Daniel. He started volunteering at the children's hospital, fixing toys, reading stories, carrying kids up the stairs who couldn't walk. And sometimes, when he passed by the old apartment building, he could almost hear her voice again, soft, brave, and full of light. "If you carry me up the stairs, I'll tell you a secret." He always smiled when he heard it in his memory, because now he finally understood. The secret wasn't about her, it was about him, about remembering that even broken people can heal others. And sometimes in doing so, they heal themselves.